Hey guys, Guppy Gutter here, and today we're looking at the MiG-29, the first one. I think the MiG-29s are aesthetically my favorite 4th gen fighter. It's just a really cool looking plane, but unfortunately in-game it's been nerfed and power crept and compressed into oblivion that it's really just pretty much garbage at this point. The only thing that it has going for it is that it carries the best semi-active radar missiles in the game, the R-27ER, which have excellent acceleration, excellent range, are very difficult to notch, plus have relock capabilities with inertial guidance and data link. And supposedly having 2 of them is enough to justify where it is right now. But let's take a look at the rest of the features of the plane one by one. The airframe is one of the worst 4th gens in the game. The MiG-29 SMT is of course worse, and maybe purely from a dogfight standpoint, the Su-33 or Su-34 are also worse, but those planes make up for it massively with the rest of their kit. It used to be quite good, but after multiple nerfs, it really cannot do anything in a dogfight against anything that isn't last generation. Both its roll and turn compress pretty hard starting 800 kph, so if you're going over 1000 or so, it feels quite sluggish to maneuver for notches, pulling in for missile shots, and getting nose on target. Especially when you compare it to any of the other 4th gen fighters. And if you're going below 800 kph, it has a very poor energy retention, and so you get maybe 180 degrees of a turn before your plane is now slower than a prop. And for that poor energy retention, it doesn't even turn all that tight. All this combined means that this plane is pretty much useless in a dogfight against anything at 4th gen, and even struggles against some of the better dogfighters in the 3rd gen. I suppose it could be worse since it is at least able to dodge roll sparrows, but even phantoms can do that. It does get an AOA delimiter button that maybe gives you one extra 90-degree pull, but it's very prone to yawing your plane in a weird direction, and you don't even get R-73s that would let you pull off some off-war shots with them. It has a very fast fuel consumption, about 6 times faster than on max burners, so you're going to want to bring at least max fuel and maybe the drop tank as well. It does go pretty fast in a straight line, but it's not exceptionally so, and it definitely isn't fast enough to outrun any missiles reliably, so unfortunately even in speed it's just average. As for missiles, we've talked about the R-27ER, but you can also replace them with R-27Ts if you want, not ETs, just regular Ts. Even if it were ETs, I'd say that the ERs would be better since they don't rely on stealth, but with the regular R-27Ts, I just wouldn't bother at all. And on the outer pylons, you get 4 R-60Ms. Genuinely horrible IR missiles for their BR, where everyone has IRCCM missiles like R-73s, Magic 2s, AIM-9Ms, and PL-5E2s at or below its BR. If this plane could at least get an AIM-9L equivalent, I think it'd be okay, but with the R-60Ms, they have such short range that it is almost guaranteed that you'll be spotted before you launch the missile, which is not good for a missile that gets one-flared very easily. Their uncaged seeker is also rather pathetically small, so you can't even pretend to launch them far off bore sight. I mean, the next highest BR fighter plane that carries this missile is the MiG-23, which is a full 1.0 BR step below this plane. And even then, it only just barely works. The radar is okay, it's fine. It's similar to the one on the Su-27 in being split into 3 horizontal segments, not following targets in TWS, and not that great in regular TWS mode, needing TWS head-on to find people in a reasonable amount of time. Compared to the Su-27's N001, the MiG-29's N019 has a shorter maximum lock range of 65 kilometers instead of 80, which is fine. You weren't going to fire on anyone that far anyways. But one thing that is kind of nicer about this radar is that it can scan 70 degrees left and right instead of 60 on the Su-27's radar. Another problem with early radars, and this radar in particular, is that if you're banked on your side and you're trying to lock somebody, then it very often searches the wrong area, and sometimes it just goes ahead and locks a completely different target, making you miss a shot that would have been really easy. And similar to the Su-27's radar, you also don't get any info on the missile's position or state on your radar display, so you have to just guess from timing, visual cues, and the missile tracking camera. Not the end of the world, but there are planes at this BR like the F-18C Early that do get this feature, so if it had it, it would have been nice. It has the same 10km tall box ACM that I basically never use, and the 19km HMD mode, which would be more useful if it had more radar missiles or R-73s, but hey, it's better than not having it. Especially since the nose is a little hard to move around when you're going at high speeds. It also gets an IRST, which is pretty useful on the Su-27, but on the MiG-29 it's too situational and you have too few missiles that can actually use it that I only very rarely used it. It's only consistent at locking people within 10 kilometers, so if you're firing an ER at long range, it's not going to help. If you're firing an ER at short range, you probably just want to hold lock since the ERs get to target very quickly. And if you're using it to prep an R-60M shot, you still have to get within spotting range to fire them, so you lose the element of surprise anyways. Maybe useful if you decide to bring the R-27Ts for some reason, but again, those missiles are not worth sacrificing the ERs for, so I basically never used the IRST. The RWR is the same annoying segmented RWR found on the MiG-23 MLD. No target ID, meaning that you can't strategize around what plane or missile was fired at you. You do have ranging, but the RWR gets so messy and cluttered that it becomes impossible to discern what's going on most of the time. You don't get a mouse like you do on the J11A that you could have at least used sometimes to rely on. And you're at a BR where a lot of your enemy's primary weapons are going to be semi-active radar missiles like ERs or 7Ps, which are much harder to defeat than active radar missiles. The side sections having a plus or minus 25-degree tolerance has to be my least favorite thing about them. I wish the side sections had the same tolerance as the front sections of plus or minus 10 degrees. At least that way you could get a little bit of precision out of notching. I suppose that means that if you are really good with spatial angling, you can align your RWR warning in one of the front sectors and then turn the exact amount necessary to put the radar source perpendicular to you. If you can do that consistently, then hats off to you, but in practice, this RWR makes it incredibly difficult to notch radar missiles at a BR where they're your primary threat. Active radar missiles are not too bad to notch since you only need to decoy them once and they're gone, so you can usually get away with changing directions while doing a very slow turning away from it. And since most people aren't data linking at this BR, you can usually get away with it. Semi-active radar missiles though, like the R-27ERs, the AIM-7Fs, or Ms, or especially the AIM-7Ps, are so incredibly annoying to notch, and if you get hard focused by somebody firing multiple of these at you, you're basically screwed since it's much harder to notch aircraft radars, and even if you do, there's a good chance they relock you and kill you anyways. Plus, if you do notch them, then the Su-27 or the F-18 that fired them can just launch another one until they're close enough to you to just kill you outright with their guns or an IR missile. You're basically forced to play defensive the entire time with no way of responding. Oh, and did I mention that this thing can't detect J-band? So if you're fighting enemy teams of MiG-23 MLs, then good luck trying to figure out if there's been an R-24R that's been launched at you. So even in a full down tier, you have a very good chance of dying to a missile that you basically can't see coming at all. The countermeasure count of 60 is just barely workable, but you will run out if you do ever have to go defensive for a significant amount of time. You waste a lot of chaff trying to notch poorly because of the bad RWR. You need to use a lot of flares to decoy even AIM-9Ls because even in side aspect and even slight front aspect, and even if you drop the afterburner, this plane burns hot enough that the AIM-9Ls will fly straight to you and ignore your flares. At this point, I have so many clips of me dying to AIM-9Ls thinking that they would have been one-flared at least in the front aspect, that whenever I think it could be potentially an AIM-9L, I'm dropping throttle to 50% and spamming flares as much as I can. Like, some of these are kind of silly. I'll let you watch these and see what you think. I thought this one was a Sparrow, so I start flaring too late while it's behind me, so I'll accept that. This is an AIM-9L fired front aspect to me. I start flaring, and it still hits me. I'm guessing it has something to do with the fact that this plane has its flare dispensers pointing upwards. So in the front aspect, pulling up while flaring is not helpful. But if that's the case, then what are you supposed to do? The Su-27 doesn't have this problem because it uses large caliber flares. Maybe next time in a head-on I'll try cutting burner and pitching downwards and flaring a bunch. But that takes so much more effort and is so much more unintuitive that at that point I might as well just die. I don't think I care about trying to make this plane work that much. Now, since I have this much trouble flying regular IR missiles like the 9L, it should be pretty obvious that IRCCM missiles like the 9M, AAM-3, R-73, Magic 2s, those are basically just death sentences. Maybe at least for tracking suspension missiles, you could potentially drop the correct flare pattern if you're in a good position, but most of the time when they're launched at you at side aspect, if you're going fast, you do not turn or roll well enough for you to be able to actually get into the correct position and turn yourself out of the seeker while you spam flares. And as if this wasn't bad enough, you even have trouble flaring R-60Ms. Like, I launched this missile at a pretty poor aspect and it still manages to hit this MiG-29. The gun is functional, it has good ballistics, but it's not like you're going to ever get a sniping shot at this BR. And the airframe hurts it too much that it's very difficult to get guns on in a dogfight, especially if you're fighting against any other 4th gen airframe. So effectively, this thing is just a plane that is pretty consistent at getting 1 or 2 kills with the R-27ERs, assuming that they don't get notched or multipathed, or the enemy doesn't die before your missile gets to them, or you don't have to go defensive, or you die. But then after using your ERs, your potential drops completely off a cliff, and you'd probably be better off playing a MiG-21 bis, since at least those things are able to maneuver into high speeds. So, how should you play this plane? First of all, just don't. There are so many planes around this BR that perhaps don't quite have as consistent of a potential for 2 easy kills with the R-27ERs, but have a much more well-rounded kit with the missiles, more missiles, better overall missile kit, better flight performance, better radar, better RWR, or all of the above. Just some of the planes at or below its BR that I think are just objectively better than this plane with higher potential for kills are the F-15A or J, the F-16AJ, the F-18C Early, the F-18A, the F-20A, the MiG-21 Bison, either of the Mirage 2000 CS's, the 12.0 Viggen. Sure, some of these planes are also not that great to play, but I feel like they're definitely a lot more fun to play than this thing, which is in a bit of a league of its own. Probably the only plane at this BR that is maybe even sadder to play is the American F-14A, since that relies almost entirely on the AIM-54A gimmick missile that only really works on complete newbies and otherwise is completely useless. If you really want to play a plane with R-27ERs that's good, then go play the Su-33 or literally any of the other flankers that carry at least 6 of them while also being complemented with R-73s, R-27ETs, and sometimes R-77s, all of which have much better kits. Or if you really want to play a MiG-29, try the MiG-29 SMT or heck even the MiG-29G. Both of these planes are still completely outclassed at their BRs, but I'd say that they're still workable enough thanks to their missile kit not being completely falling off after 2 shots. And what really rubs salt into the wound is that for $80 you can play a premium MiG-29 sniper that's at the same BR and is identical in everything except its RWR is actually good, being a digital RWR with precise direction and target ID, massively improving your situational awareness, making it much easier to notch enemy missiles, and giving you a lot more information on how to strategize around how to engage each target. I absolutely despise this kind of premium implementation of existing tech tree planes, but just better, like the Ariete, the French F5, the Netz mod, among other planes. Obviously, the Su-30 premiums are also horribly under-tiered, but with these tech tree but better planes, it's so completely blatant that it hurts. But if you really want to play this tech tree MiG-29 in particular, you have some options. You can attempt to fly at multipath height to remedy your poor RWR. This is very much a gamble though, since it's highly dependent on terrain. You could get easily swatted by an R-60M missile or even an AIM-9L. You don't maneuver all that well going fast, and a lot of the times it just comes down to who spots who first and who gets lucky. So you basically never get to leverage the advantage of the R-27ER. Second option is to go high, which is the one that I would recommend. It's not easy to notch with the bad RWR, but I found that most active radar missiles can be fairly consistently notched, since most enemies at this BR aren't going to be using data link, so you only need to defeat it once, even if you do have to use more chaff than if your RWR was good. It also helps to fly a bit of a distance behind a teammate who's also already climbed and let them take the brunt of the initial BVR attacks. Because if you're in the front and you're holding a lock and somebody fires at you, then you either have to break lock and lose one of the 2 actually good missiles on this plane, or you end up having to play a game of chicken where you're probably just going to die anyways. And that's assuming that there's only one person that's firing at you. So it's best not to find yourself at the front of the line. Ideally, you're also flying above your teammates so that if you find yourself in this tricky spot, then you can dive towards your teammates and have the enemies need to deal with them before they get to you. But if you find yourself being alone and hard-focused by an R-27ER or AIM-7P carrier, then you're kind of screwed, and this does happen, but it didn't happen to me that often, and I mostly got away with just staying high after notching a few missiles. From altitude, you do get quite a lot of options on who you can target, since your R-27ER has long range and has a very consistent track rate, so it's pretty difficult from the enemy's perspective to notch. You can try and fire at people at or above your altitude to try and eliminate the threats that might be going after you, or you can try and fire it at enemies lower than you who probably aren't targeting you, so it should be relatively easy to hold lock, but also have the potential to die to a friendly earlier or could potentially multipath the missile. You do still want to pick and choose your targets carefully since you do only have 2 of them and they aren't completely foolproof. You might also want to consider saving them for a more defensive situation where you need them to stop someone from attacking you, but I do think it's best to just use them to knock 2 people out of the match as quickly as you can instead of saving them for later, where since if you go defensive, it's usually over at that point. Once your ERs are spent, this is where I don't really have much that I can offer as advice other than good luck. You can try fire them similar to the AIM-9Ls in a top-down fashion so that the enemies who are too busy with what's in front of them or behind them are too focused on multipathing and won't see it coming and won't flare, but you're still within spotting distance. You can try and shoot them in a close head-on, but that's very risky and you could just die easily to a radar missile, guns, or their own IR missiles. You can try to get on an enemy 6 and fire them from close range, but the R-60Ms are going to be very easily fooled by flares if you aren't within like 500 meters pure rear aspect, so it's going to be very difficult to get into a position like that without the enemy trying to pull off. You can try to third-party enemies that are occupied in a furball, but everyone else on your team is also going to be trying to go for those same things, while also using missiles with much better range, flare resistance, or radar locks compared to the R-60Ms. You can try to keep your speed up, but then you lock up and it makes it very difficult to multipath or dodge. You can try and keep it slow, but then if you do dodge, you're going to bleed a bunch of speed and it's going to make it really easy for enemies to catch you. And when you are forced to go defensive into a dogfight, then you're very rarely going to ever be able to survive. The ideal speeds you want to try and keep this plane at are around 800 to 1000 kph if you want some semblance of maneuverability, but trying to keep it there without bleeding at all or needing to accelerate to escape a bad situation is very difficult, so for the most part it just comes down to luck. If the matches were longer, then I might advise going back to base to rearm for R-27ERs, but in this fustercluck of a compressed matchmaker and premium span going all rampant, matches end very quickly, so you might as well just stick around and try at least to fish for an R-60M kill or die trying. There is a lot of discussion on what can be done with this plane. I've heard that this plane has too realistic of a flight model while all the other planes overperform, but that's not very likely to change. I've heard that it could stay at 12.7 if the R-27ERs were replaced with R-27Rs and the R-60Ms were replaced with R-73s, but Gaijins ignored these solutions. I've heard this suggestion and that suggestion, but after they decided to move the F-15A and F-15J down at the same BR as this plane, I think I've been radicalized. Gaijin obviously don't care, so at this point let's just keep compressing. Move this plane down to 12.3 or maybe 12.0, then move all of the 12.3s and 12.0s down and keep going. Keep compressing until what's already broken becomes irreparable. Maybe at that point then we'll have enough support to push for real rebalancing. Accelerationist doom posting aside, the matchmaker for this plane is pretty unforgiving, but the way you play this plane doesn't really change whether you're in an uptier or a downtier. You get a lot of full and partial up tiers to 13.7 and 13.3 thanks to the Su-30 spam sucking you up in BR along with all of the other premiums at and around your BR. This is pretty unfun, but I will say that it didn't make it much more difficult to get 2 consistent kills with the ERs since they're still pretty difficult to notch no matter what BR, which is of course why they still stay relevant up until 14.7 top tier. And when you do get a full down tier, it's not that much easier to get more than 2 kills a match. You are usually less contested at high altitude and you don't have to worry that much about active radar missiles, but you're still going to be at the same BR as the F-18C Early, which are such a complete pain in the ass to deal with, since they can spam daylink sparrows at you that you are forced to stay in the notch until they get close enough to gun you down, and in a dogfight they absolutely obliterate you in what is supposed to be your niche of high turn, low energy retention one-circle fights. And even if you don't get hard focused, you're still going to struggle to get any kills with the R-60Ms, since even at 11.7 the MiG-29 MLs and MLDs have a hard time using them anyways. But hey, at least you stand a chance in a 1v1 dogfight against a Phantom, MiG-23 or Mirage F1 assuming you aren't immediately third-partied. Okay, let's get to the gameplay. I wanted to challenge myself and see if I could get a 5-kill game, and wow, this lasted a lot longer than I thought it would. Before we get into the full matches though, I have a few dogfights to show. This match I had picked up some enemies in front of me, so I wasn't sure where they had gone. Turns out they had flanked around my right side. I don't know if this Netz sees me, but oh yeah, he definitely sees me. I was worried the Python might pull in, but luckily it doesn't. And at this speed, I am not going to win this fight, but I do know my corner speed is 800 kph, so I'm going to dive while turning to try and maintain that speed. And now I have to pitch up to try and get nose on. I'm going to fire an R60. He's going to counterfire. I'm going to turn and flare. And yeah, this is what you can expect to happen to you whenever you try and get in a dogfight. Even if you do everything right, you just can't win sometimes. This match I was alt-tabbed out of the game, and then as soon as I tab back in, here's an F-18 straight in front of me. I accidentally panic-fire the gun. I try to switch to the ER in time, but I'm not able to, but I am able to roll dodge that Sparrow, which is lucky. Now I do think the MiG-29 actually has a better energy retention than the F-18. It's just that the F-18 turns a lot tighter and so is able to get the advantage much quicker. However, we are pretty high up, so maybe because of that he's not quite able to pull into me in time. And you can see that I'm also going piss slow, but I'm just barely able to outrate him here while he's falling out of the sky, and so I managed to get a lucky gunshot on him and take him out. This match is a full down tier, so I may have hope of actually doing well. I do need to be careful of MiG-23s that could potentially fire missiles that I can't see, but it looks like this guy isn't targeting me, so I might be able to get a missile shot on him. Even though he's going a pretty poor aspect to me, I'm going to fire one off, both because the R-27ER is extremely good at tracking enemies that even are pretty close to the notch, but I also unlocked it to see if I can maybe get him to exit the notch before I relocked him. And it looks like he notched it. Very unfortunate. It doesn't happen often, but it happens often enough that you notice it, and it's kind of annoying. You'd hope that the 2 guaranteed kills missiles would actually get you 2 guaranteed kills, but even here they aren't foolproof. Anyways, turning in towards the fight to see if I can find any enemies to go after. There are a lot of MiG-23s down there. Enemy F-18 gets surprise spotted. This would have been a perfect shot for my ER, but I don't have one, so here I go into the furball to see if I can get an R-60M kill. I'm actually going way too fast right now. And I also managed to fire that on a teammate. Very cool. Maybe because he's burning and maybe because he's a MiG-29 that burns doubly hot. I thought the radar lock would hold, but I guess it didn't, unfortunately. Looks like the F-18 hasn't capitalized on my poor turn to actually turn back for me, so I'm gonna see if I can get an R-60M on him. Yeah, obviously those aren't going to hit, but I want him to at least be somewhat scared, and these R-60Ms have a hard time hitting anyways, so might as well take every chance that I got. I am behind him now, so this maybe has a higher chance of hitting him. I noticed a MiG-23 on my right, so I'm going defensive against him. Yeah, the R-60M missed, but it looks like the F-18C is doing a very slow turn in front of me. Not entirely sure why, but I'll take the shot. Barely turned in time to flare this R-60M from the MiG-23, and he's gonna try and stick behind me, so let's see who wins this fight. His wings aren't fully swept forward. It means he'll lose a lot more speed in turns, but he's also probably not gonna turn quite as well. And here, even in full afterburner, I'm able to stick behind him just because of how poor this thing's energy retention is. I think because of parallax, those shots were underneath him. I should still be able to stay behind him here, though. There we go. First time I'm actually getting a decent dogfight in this stupid plane. And it had to be a previous generation MiG. Honestly, if he played it correctly and if it was just a 1v1, he could probably have won as well. This F-18 seems to be still flying, so I'm gonna finish him off. And my friendlies take out the rest of the enemies. Maybe could have gotten one more kill if that R-27ER at the start actually hit, but in this plane you just really gotta appreciate whenever you actually do get a kill. Missile out long range, unlock. While the R-27ER is good for these unlocking shots, actually getting the relock on the enemy can be very inconsistent. Especially if they're going a bit side aspect, but this guy seems completely oblivious, so I should be able to get him. Let's see if there's another target that I can go for. That person seems like they're within range. And the radar is having a hard time figuring out where he is, so I just hardlock him. Spool the missile up, fire it off. Unlock. They also don't seem to be maneuvering very much, so I should be able to get away with just locking them here. There we go. Even if he had fired on me, I wouldn't have known, so I'll just pretend like he didn't see me. Now I'm pretty far off to the edge of the map. I'm hoping that maybe I can use the cloud cover and spike a few R-60Ms on top of enemies that can't see me. I'm going pretty fast, so maybe the R-60 might be able to get him from this distance. The clouds are getting a little in the way. Missile out though, hopefully he doesn't see it coming. There's somebody in front of me as well. Gonna see if I can fire one off in the head-on. These almost never hit unless it's from point blank and they don't flare. So as expected, he flares that one off. I absolutely hate dealing with F-18s, but since it's just one here with one teammate around, maybe I'll be able to get him. R-60 out. It does sound like he's firing countermeasures, but I think he's firing chaff, so I was able to get him. Unfortunately, I'm getting hard targeted again. If this is an R-73, then I'm cooked anyways. Oh, it was a 27R. Yeah, because of how close you have to get with the R-60Ms, you get spotted, and because of how long it takes you to kill anything with the R-60Ms, the enemy is gonna have plenty of time to come after you and kill you. Even if that last match was a full down tier. Now this match is a full up tier. But the way that you play isn't that different. In fact, I think I actually prefer getting fired on by an active radar missile as opposed to semi-active radar missiles and IR missiles, just because of the fact that they behave a lot more consistently, and are much more straightforward to defeat. Quick ER kill on the F2. Let's see if I can find somebody else to use the ERs on. This is an enduring confrontation map, so the enemies should be relatively spread out, which is going to give me a better chance of not getting screwed over if I do end up having to dive on a single guy. On top of that, it's a dark map, meaning that it's going to be harder for them to spot me, so I might be able to sneak attack with the R-60s a bit better. Nice, I still have an ER left to defend myself if I need to. There's a good chance this enemy missile isn't actually coming for me, since there are a lot of friendlies in the area, but I'm still gonna defend either way. Could be a waste, but you sort of do have to be wasteful in this plane. Something that's pinging my radar really quickly. That means it's most likely gonna be an ASA radar of some sort, which is very dangerous. Could be an F2, could be a Su-34. Checking the kill feed, there's definitely a Su-34 on the enemy team, and he's slinging R-27ETs. So if that guy manages to spot me somewhere, then I'm basically cooked. Missile diamond off to the right. Maybe I can see what it is from. I do get a radar lock, but I'm not sure if that's the guy who fired the missile since it was heading this way. RWR ping very close to the right, but I don't know what it is. I'm just gonna stay notched and check my right to see if anybody shows up. I should be clear for now, and suddenly an F2 pops up in front of me. I get the lock really quickly and I try to fire the ER off. Hopefully he's not able to notch it in time. Nice, okay. This is gonna mean that I've been spotted by the other two enemies that are to the left. I'm gonna have to notch these first few missiles. I don't know if I can do it. Okay, very luckily it was not a 9M. If it was, I probably would have been screwed. F2 is coming after me, and I'm going to dip below the mountain to try and hide and then get away from here. Because there's no way in hell I'm going to win a dogfight against that guy. F-16 pops over the ridge. Let's see if I can R-60M him. He's not flaring yet. It does sound like he was popping countermeasures, but it must have been chaff because it did not render on my screen. From the kill feed, it looks like my friendly was also able to take out the F2 that was chasing after me, so it's just one enemy left. I'm hoping that I can find him and then maybe kill him before my teammates do. Super luckily, it looks like he's right in front of me. But he is flying away from me and I'm not really gaining on him. There's a good chance that one of my friendlies is able to kill him before I do, because I'm not getting within range of R-60Ms. At least not at this speed. And as expected, he dies to a Sparrow. This was the closest I've been to an ace so far, since I still had 2 missiles, all of my gun ammo, and plenty of countermeasures as well as fuel. So that's rather unfortunate. Full down tier again, I don't want to get my hopes up, but let's just start with the match with a good ER launch. He seems isolated, it doesn't look like any of my friendlies are going after him, and the map is Pradesh, where the trees are unusually tall, so if he's going over a patch of trees, then there's a good chance that he won't actually be able to multipath at all. I'm able to relock him pretty quickly. It does seem like he's flying over an empty patch right now though, so this might miss him. Okay, very nice. A second target behind him, he just gets spotted though, so it's actually quite likely that the MiG-29 is going to kill him before I'm able to. Okay, it looks like he survived it. Here's to hoping that it actually hits him now. Okay, nice. Now I gotta see how much damage I can do with these R-60Ms. There's somebody below me, so I might be able to get an R-60 shot off here. Okay, it looks like he saw me, which is unfortunate. Maybe a rear aspect shot would be better? Nope. Okay, but what about one more? Come on, dude, stop squirming, please. Nope. It is really annoying how many flares that thing gets. And I'm already out of R-60Ms. Maybe I should have just given up on him, but in these matches you don't know when you're gonna die and when these R-60s are gonna decide to actually do something, so sometimes it's worth it. You should be a pretty easy target now, I just need to get guns on. There we go. Somehow I haven't died to anybody else yet. Just gotta make sure that I don't hit the ground, and I need to accelerate to regain some speed. Doing pretty well, but I only have 45 cannon rounds left, so I'm gonna have to make them count. Maybe I could go head on with one of these guys. F4 is turning in, maybe I could get a shot here. I'm just full sending it because I really have no other choice right now. I can't tell if that was supposed to be a missile for me or the enemy. Okay, I have 19 shots left, I gotta make them count. I am getting closer to this JH7, but I'm getting an RWR ping from something up ahead of me and I don't know what it is. I guess it's that F-18. I hope he's not firing on me. I'm just gonna go for the gunshot, and I realize that I'm going too fast, I'm not rolling well enough, and I get my wing shorn off. If I was just going 800 kph there and I could have had my maximum roll and turn, then I could have gotten a shot off on him, but I was going way too fast to be able to adjust for the gunshot there. Okay, well, on to the next match. Whoever this is, he got really close to me, so the ER should definitely be able to get to him. Maybe he'll notch it, but let's hope that he doesn't. Okay, that took a little longer than I thought it would, but it did eventually get to him. Trying to find another target to launch on. Somebody potentially 10 kilometers away from me, that's a good target. RWR pings from my left somewhere. Oh, there's the missile diamond. I managed to knock out that Su-33. Let's see if I can notch this missile. Okay, I did make it. Let's see if that guy's still firing at me. Oh, it's a Gripen. Since this is a full Uptier, it could be a Gripen C. And I am definitely not going to contest that guy, especially without any radar missiles, so I'm just going to try and dive on these guys down below me. Hopefully I can get to them without them noticing me. Oop, Su-30. He looks like he's flat spinning, so I'm just going to let him die. There are a lot more enemies here than I thought there would be, so I'm going to have to try and launch all of my missiles off and get out of here as quickly as I can. Really lucky I got the Su-33 there, he wasn't paying attention. Maybe I can get one on this F-18. I don't know if that one's going to pull in for him. Okay, well either way he's flared, so it's probably not on him anymore. And neither is that one. And I'm going too fast to be able to maneuver my nose, so I'm just going to run. Oh god, there's a Su-34 on my 6 as well. That's not good. But looking back, it doesn't look like any of them are targeting me. Maybe I should have RTB'd for some more missiles, but there's a good chance that our team kills them in the time that I'd get to do that. Or all of my enemies kill the teammates, and I won't be able to get anything done, so I'm just going to go in and see what I can do. I'm going to go for a head-on R60 here. Hopefully it'll get him. Oh wow, he actually managed to shoot me out there. I was not expecting him to hit that shot, but at the same time I was compressing pretty hard, so it was hard to maneuver. I would have had to get another kill after that anyway, so 5 kills was kind of a stretch in that game. Another down tier, hopefully it means that I can kill a few people easily. I'm launching the ER from much longer range than I normally would because there's a MiG-29 in front of me, and I would prefer to be able to get this kill for myself. Okay, I've relocked. It should be able to connect as long as he doesn't maneuver too much and doesn't try to notch. This RWR ping is probably from the guy that I fired on. Okay, nice, I killed him. But the RWR ping hasn't stopped, which means that that's a Phoenix from that F-14 that I killed. It's pretty slow right now though, so I am able to notch it pretty easily in time. Now let's see if there's anybody at low altitude that I can go after. There are actually quite a few people, but a lot of them are bunched up, a lot of them are maneuvering, and a lot of them are not coming towards me. I really want to minimize the chance that the person that I fire on dies before I can kill them. So ideally I go for somebody who isn't spotted just yet. I also want to choose a target that's not going to be maneuvering all that well because it means that they're much more likely to not be able to multipath correctly. I'm thinking I might go for this Phantom here, but I realize there's a Phantom much farther in the back and it looks like nobody's actually going after him, so missile out for him. Let's see if it hits. Okay, that's my first 2 kills down. Just gotta get 3 more. Tornado might be an easy target. He doesn't maneuver very well. It looks like he's trying to flare, but those BOL flares aren't going to do that much. But unfortunately it looks like he outran it. Typical R-60M and their short range, I guess. I'm getting fired on from behind. If it's a Magic 2, then it's not going to be able to get to me, and if it's a radar missile, I'm going to be trying to multipath it here. Luckily the Tornado was not able to flare my second R-60M. Okay, I'm going to try and turn back now and re-engage at this point. If I keep running, it's not going to help me all that much. I don't know what any of these missiles are, but I'm cutting throttle and I'm flaring and I'm chaffing. And it looks like he fired them from far away enough that the IRCCM doesn't work as well. He almost hit me there, but my friendly kills him. I guess that's fine. I just need to find 2 more people to kill really quickly before either I lose the advantage or my teammates win. I'm getting RWR pings from my right. I don't know where or from how far away, but oh, there's an F-18. I don't know if he sees me yet. I'm going to try and fire a missile at him. It does look like he actually sees me. And even if he didn't flare, the missile just misses. These are unfortunately not R-73s. The shot did look really good there, though. It looked like it almost intercepted him. So I must have been just a tiny bit off. I'm really crossing my fingers that that F-18 is not going for me and is going for a friendly. Because I'm really going to try and focus this Mirage right now. Missile out, checking my 6. That F-18 is definitely coming up after me, so I need to gain some speed and try and dive in an awkward angle for him to shoot me. The Mirage is still not dead yet. If he fires a Magic 2 at me, I'm screwed. That could be a Magic 2. I don't know how I'm alive. I'm guessing that the Magic 2 was just close enough to me that the proximity fuse wasn't active yet. If that's the case, then I guess I'm super lucky there. That F-18 is probably right behind me and shooting at me, but I cannot focus on him right now. I need to kill this Mirage. Okay, severe damage. I need to get out of the way of this F-18. I might just barely survive. And I get aim 9L'd from who knows where. Man, I was doing so well there. Oh, please. I know 5 kills is possible. I just want to get it one time. Well, on to the next match. This one's also a full down tier, so that's at least a good start. I unlocked my missile and I panicked a little bit. It looked like I wasn't able to relock him, but I'm able to find him again. The MiG-29 is much closer to him than I am, but it doesn't look like he's going after him, so hopefully this missile should get to hit the enemy before anything happens, before he notches. Nice, F-18 down, that's a big target. I was considering going after that F-4, but I don't think I want to go after him because he's probably going to die to a friendly before I'm able to get to him. So I'm going to keep searching up at high altitude and see if I can find enemy. And what do you know, there's somebody up at exactly the right range for me to fire my ER. So the missile is out. I'm going to try and find him again on TWS, and there he is. Gonna wait a little bit. He is going into notch, so I'm going to try and get him. I thought I lost him here, but I'm able to actually get him with HMD, which is really lucky. He's flying very perpendicular though, so I'm going to hope that the missile is actually able to get to him. It's a MiG-23, so hopefully he's not able to notch it properly with his poor RWR. Come on, it's gonna get to him. There we go. Alright, let's see who else I can go after. I'm gonna turn back to help my friendlies back here with this Mirage. They'll probably be able to get him before I'm able to get there, but because both of them are spotted for each team, it's very likely that there are gonna be more enemies heading this direction. And I want to be ready for that situation. Yeah, it is a friendly F-18, so he's probably going to be able to deal with the Mirage and the F-4J pretty easily. There goes the Mirage. It is taking the F-18 some time to loop around for the F-4J, so I might go for a shot here. He is flaring a little bit, but I'm hoping that he doesn't see me. Fingers crossed. Nice, okay, that's 3. I just need 2 more. I don't see anybody in the area, but I do see that F-16 that is dogfighting a friendly back there. He is very far away, and it seems like I might be getting RWR pings from closer, so I do want to stay in the area and see if I can take some of the other people out. Yep, there's a MiG-23 heading towards us. He's not going to give me an RWR ping, but something else must be around here as well, since I am getting another RWR ping. Okay, it looks like it was just an R-60 that he fired at me, very lucky. I'm going to see if I can turn around for the MiG-23, but it does look like he's going much too fast for me to be able to catch him, so I'm not going to bother. And the thing that was actually pinging my RWR was this F-18C. That's very scary. Oh, it's actually 2 F-18Cs. Oh no. I'm cutting burner, hoping that these aren't AIM-9Ls. Or if they are, then I'm able to flare them. And if they're not, then hopefully I'm able to multipath them into the ground. Or just notch them. He's right on my 6, but he's not quite able to pull in. I'm going to see if I can pull him for him instead. Okay, he reversed his turn to try and get out of the way of the MiG-23. One of the F-18s has crashed. That's good for me. And we do have a numbers advantage here, so hopefully we can take out this F-18 right now. Or he could just crash. Oh well. That F-16 is still dogfighting whoever is all the way in the back over there. And I still do have around half of my fuel left, so I'm thinking I might try and go after him. It turns out he was dogfighting a friendly F-4S, and he only just kills him with an A9L right now. So maybe I can try and dogfight him. Maybe he's not that great of a fighter. So I'm gonna slowly make my way over towards him. I'm gonna try and climb a little bit so that if we do start the dogfight, I have a little bit of altitude to dive on him with. I'm hoping that he stays on the deck so that I can take the initiative and dive onto him. Hopefully he thinks that I have an ER left and I'm going to fire it at him. Luckily for me, it does look like he's staying on the deck. I might be able to get a sneak R-60M on him, but he has been RWR pinging me as well, so there's a good chance he just sees me right now and is intentionally just starting defensively. And the enemy pops an Avenger and somehow it lands specifically on me. That's excellent. I'm coming in way too fast into this fight. I cannot afford to overshoot here, so I'm going to drop throttle air brake and try and stick behind him. The F-16 is way too strong in the turn at medium speed, so I need to hope for as slow of a fight as possible. And if I can get a scissors and I can stay behind him, that would be perfect. And right now I do have the position, I just need to get my guns on, but he is pitching up. I hit the AOA button to try and get just a bit more pitch to fire my R-60M, but it doesn't quite hit him. Try go for a gunshot while I'm stalling, but that doesn't work either. My AOA limiter is still off, so I turn it back on, and it causes me to flop around a bit. I use my takeoff flaps, I need to get behind him. But it looks like he's also going really slow, so this is the speed where the F-16 doesn't actually do all that well. So I'm going to cash in the speed that I do have to try and get a gunshot. That's a crit. Hopefully it's enough to put him into the mountain here. Ooh, okay. I can do this. That's 4 kills, I just need 1 more. Checking the scoreboard, there's only 2 enemies left. Both are base bombers, and one of them crashes soon thereafter, so I have 1 guy, 1 chance. It's quite far into the match, so there's a good chance that they've RTB'd. So I'm going to turn back and check their short airfield. I'm going to avoid these AI fighters because I've seen them actually kill players with missiles before, and I do not want to take any chances. On my radar, I see something faint. It looks like it's heading towards me, and that's actually pretty close, so maybe he's actually heading towards me. I can't really tell, though. This radar is kind of ass. But that is definitely in the direction of their airfield. I'm very low on fuel, so I'm trying to conserve it as much as I can. Low on cannon ammo, low on missiles. This is going to be a big risk, but I gotta take it. I can't seem to find them with my radar anymore, so I'm switching to IRST. Maybe it'll pick something up. But at least I know that there's something over there, and I might be able to get to them. And if I screw this up, I have no backup, so I need to make sure that this counts. I'm actually able to lock them from quite far away. They must be a really hard target. And it looks like they might be going in for a landing because they're heading away from me. I would try to go after them as quickly as I can, but I'm low on fuel, and I don't know if it's something that I'll have to dogfight because they have the chance to J out and take off really quickly if they know how to do that. But I'll be able to get there soon enough, so I'll find out. Okay, they have like 0 speed right now, so that means that they're definitely landed. I just need to try and get there before they're able to fully repair and rearm. I also need to stay as low as possible so that they don't spot me until the last second. Getting my R-60M ready. And just when I was about to fire it, he rearms and he's back at the end of the airfield. I don't know if he spotted me yet, but I'm going to try and dive down as low as possible so that he doesn't if he hasn't. I'm praying that he tries to take off right now instead of jaying out and being really annoying, because I'm very low on fuel now. Missile out, I know that thing gets a maul, but I don't really care, I just need him dead here. I'm gonna go for guns if I need to, and I get him! Okay, I'm finally done. I'm just really glad that this is over now. I don't know why I thought this would be an interesting challenge to try and get an ace with this plane, but... I'm never gonna touch this plane until they actually change something about this BR again. This plane is doo-doo ass right now, and you definitely didn't need me to tell you that, but hopefully now you know just exactly how doo-doo ass it is. But anyways, that's all for now. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!
At the river mouth, the bears catch only the tastiest, most tender salmon. Which is exactly what we at John West want. John West endure the worst to bring you the best.